All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most incredible and, let's be honest, invisible journeys that happens all around us all the time. We're talking about wastewater treatment. It's this complex, fascinating world that takes what we all get rid of and totally transforms it. So let's follow the water.
I mean, it's a simple question, right? You wash your hands, you flush the toilet, and the water just, poof, it's gone. But it's not. Not really. It actually begins this amazing engineered journey through a hidden system that's designed to protect our health and our environment.
So to really appreciate the solution, we've got to understand the problem first. What exactly are we dealing with? We need to look at what we're starting with before a single drop of it gets treated.
And our journey starts right here with this stuff, influent. This is all the water from our homes, from businesses, all of it, flowing into the treatment plant. Think of it as the before picture. It's full of all the things we absolutely have to get out.
And what are those things? Well, a huge one is organic matter. Basically, all the carbon-based stuff, proteins, fats, carbs, that make the water dirty. If we just dump this into a river, it would be a disaster. It would cause massive algae blooms and literally starve the water of oxygen, killing off fish and everything else.
So how do we measure just how dirty this water is? That's where this super important metric comes in. Biochemical oxygen demand, or BOD. It's a number that tells us how much oxygen tiny little microbes are going to need to gobble up all that organic matter. So, a high BOD? That means you've got a lot of pollution. Our main goal, our whole mission, is to bring that number way, way down.
Now you might also hear people talk about COD, or chemical oxygen demand. And yeah, it's a faster test, but for what we're doing, BOD is the one that really matters. Why? Because we're about to fight fire with fire. We're going to use a living, biological solution to solve this biological pollution problem.
Okay, let's head to our first major stop in the plant. Think of this stage like a big sorting process. It's all about getting rid of the easy stuff first. The things we can physically pull out.
This is called primary treatment. The influent comes into this huge basin, it slows way down, and then gravity just takes over. All the heavier solid stuff, the suspended matter, it just settles down to the bottom. It's simple, but it's super effective at getting rid of the visible gunk. But the real challenge, that's tackling the invisible stuff, the dissolved pollutants. And for that, we need to bring in a microscopic army.
And this, right here, is where the real magic happens. We are now entering the heart of the treatment plant. It's like a bustling microscopic city where an army of living organisms is about to do all the heavy lifting for us.
The whole thing is called the Activated Sludge Process. Now, it looks pretty simple on paper, but really, it's this perfectly choreographed dance. We mix the wastewater with our culture of microbes, then we pump it full of air to get them energized and working. After they've eaten up all the pollution, we let them settle out, and then, this is the crucial part, we recycle the healthiest microbes right back to the start to do it all over again.
Aeration is the absolute secret ingredient here. Remember that high BOD? That was a measure of the oxygen needed for these microbes to do their job. So in these giant aeration tanks, we are just constantly pumping in air. We're creating the perfect 5-star environment for our microbial workforce to breathe and get to work.
And this shows you exactly why that's so important. We are trying to create an aerobic environment, one that's just rich with oxygen. This encourages the good guys to grow, the efficient, odor-free organisms. What we're trying to avoid is an anaerobic or oxygen-free state. That's what you get in a septic tank, and it leads to much slower and much smellier decomposition. We don't want that.
So who exactly are these workers? Let's zoom in, weigh in, and meet the invisible employees who are on the clock 24/7 just cleaning our water for us. It's pretty amazing. See, it's not just one type of organism, it's a whole ecosystem in there. Bacteria are the main workers, they're the ones breaking down all that organic matter. But you also have these larger protozoa and rotifers. They're kind of like the predators, and they keep the bacteria population in check, which actually helps make the water crystal clear. It is a perfectly balanced food web all happening inside a tank.
So these microorganisms, they are the true heroes of this story. They take all that dissolved organic gunk that primary treatment couldn't even touch, and they convert it into more of themselves. So in other words, they literally eat the pollution. How cool is that?
Now the plant operators, they can't just toss the microbes in and cross their fingers. No, they have to act like city managers for this tiny metropolis. They are constantly controlling what's called the food-to-microorganism ratio, or F/M ratio. This makes sure there's just enough food, the BOD, for the number of microbes we have, but not so much that they get overwhelmed. It is a constant, delicate balancing act.
Okay, so our tiny workforce has feasted on the pollutants, they're full and happy, but now we have a new problem, right? How do we separate the clean water from the billions and billions of helpful microbes we just used to clean it?
Well, the answer is to create sludge. After the aeration tank, the water flows into this really quiet tank called a clarifier. And in here, the microorganisms are encouraged to clump together into these bigger, heavier particles. Think of them like little microbe communities. And then they just settle to the bottom by gravity. This collection of settled microbes, that is our activated sludge.
And here's the absolute genius of the system. A portion of this healthy, active sludge, we call it return sludge, is sent right back to the beginning of the aeration tank. This makes sure there's always a concentrated, hungry population of microbes ready for the new influent coming in. The rest of it, the excess population, is called waste sludge, and that gets removed from the system to keep that F/M ratio perfectly balanced.
So, we followed the water from the drain, through the physical sorting, through the biological feast, now for the final step, grading our homework. How do we know for sure that the water's clean enough to go back out into the environment?
And this just shows you the whole transformation. We started with influent, which was high in pollutants like BOD. What flows out of the plant is called effluent, and it's treated wastewater that's now clean and safe. I mean, the difference is just night and day.
Besides making sure that BOD has been knocked way down, we also measure stuff like total suspended solids, or TSS. This basically tells us how good of a job our clarifiers did at separating the sludge from the clean water. A nice low TSS means we've got a crystal clear effluent.
And this whole thing isn't optional. Every single treatment plant operates under a really strict set of rules called an NPDES permit. This permit sets legal limits on pollutants like BOD and TSS in the final effluent, and it guarantees that every plant is doing its job to protect our rivers, our lakes, and our oceans.
So, the next time you see water disappear down the drain, you'll know the incredible biological journey it's about to take. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other essential, totally invisible systems are just humming away right beneath the surface, keeping our whole world running smoothly? It's something to think about. Thanks for joining us.